Warm welcome to all the students. In this lecture, we are going to see a very important aspect of Java that is called as collections. The collection framework is basically contained in java.util package. It is one of the most powerful subsystems of Java. Now what do we have in this collections interfaces? Basically, there are different interfaces which they have designed. Now these are the different interfaces for different data structures, okay, and then we have sub interfaces or the interfaces that extends the main interfaces and so on. So we have a web of these interfaces, and finally they have classes that implement these interfaces, right? And we as programmers, we can use the methods of those classes. So the collection framework, it also allows us to store, retrieve and update a set of objects, and it provides API to work with data structures such as list, tree, maps, sets and so on. Now let's quickly have a glance at various interfaces in collection framework. A collection framework may contain interfaces such as collection, map and iterator. So basically these are the three main interfaces that are there in collection framework. There's something called as collection, interface called as collection, there's an interface called as map, and there's an interface called as iterator. Now the collection interface is further extended into other sub interfaces, okay, as well as the map interface and so on. Let us see other interfaces. So you have your collection interface. Collection is basically collection of elements, okay, it could be any objects. So collection interface, it represents collection of elements. Now within this collection interface, okay, there are other sub interfaces which extend this collection interface. So which are the sub interfaces? List is one extension to the collection interface. List is basically the sequence of elements, right? Queue is another interface. Queue also extends the collection interface. So queue is nothing but it is special type of list where elements can be added from the front side and it can be removed from the elements can be added from the rear side and elements can be removed from the front side. So this is a queue interface which extends collection interface. Similarly, there is a set interface which extends collection interface. Set basically is a collection of unique elements, so no duplicate items should be present in this particular set. Then set interface further is extended by sorted set interface. Sorted set interface is basically what? It contains sorted collection of unique elements. Okay, so collection interface has it extends list, queue, set and set interface, whereas set interface extends for the sorted set interface. We have map interface. Like collection interface, we have map interface. Map basically is collection of key and value pairs which must be unique. Now map interface is further extended by sorted map interface. Sorted map interface interface is basically sorted collection of unique key value pairs. Then so collection is one interface, then map is another interface, and then we have iterator. Now iterator basically, see, whenever you have iterations, okay, for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, what is I? I is basically an iterator. It helps us in retrieving the values or accessing the values in every iteration. So iterator interface basically is nothing but object used to traverse through the collection, and traversing means iteration wise, one object at a time. Iterator interface is further extended as list iterator. So list iterator interface object used to traverse through the sequence, right? So we will also see briefly the graphical representation of various interfaces in the collection. Okay, so we have collection interface. Collection interface is further extended by list interface, queue and set interface. Set interface is further extended by sorted set interface. We have map interface extended by sorted map interface. We have iterator interface extended by list iterator interface. As we know, what are interfaces? Interfaces are just like contracts. Interfaces contain, the abstract methods. We have only the prototype of the method listed in the interface. The definition of that method is not written. So when we as user, we want to use the collections in our programs, we cannot use these interfaces. Okay, now the developers of Java, they have also created classes that implements these interfaces. So those classes and the methods present in the classes we will be using in our programs. Now let's see the collection interface. Collection interface, okay, all collection classes basically must implement this collection interface. Collection interface, it defines some methods which enable us to access the objects of collection. Let us see what are these methods in the collection interface. There is an add method, and notice that the argument which is given to the add method is object O. We have already seen that Java is fully object oriented programming language. Everything within every component of Java is basically an object. So Java developers, they have come up with a highest class that is called as object class. This object class can represent any object, maybe the user defined objects or the inbuilt objects, right? So add is one method where you can pass object of any class, maybe inbuilt class or maybe user defined class as an argument. So basically what this does is it returns true if the object is added to the specified collection, and otherwise it will return false. Another method called as add all method. Again, add all meaning you can pass the whole collection, may it be may it be a queue or may it be a list or whatever. You can pass the entire collection, and this entire collection will be added to the collection interface. So it returns true if the entire object in the collection is added to the specified collection, otherwise it returns false. Clear is a method which removes all the elements from specified collection. Contains object O. It returns true if the collection contains the specified element. Contains all is another method. Again, it takes collection object C as argument. It returns true if the collection contains all the elements in the specified collection. Equals object O. It returns true if the specified object matches with the object in the collection. So the object that you have specified and the object which is there within the collection, if there is a match, it will return true. Hash code is a special method that returns a hash code for the collection. Is empty. It returns true if the collection is empty. Iterator, it returns an iterator over the elements in the collection. Remove method, which again takes object O as argument, it returns true if the specified element is present in the collection and removes the object from the collection. So remove method, in simple words, it is going to remove an element from the collection if it exists. Okay, if that element does not exist, it will return false. Next method is remove all. Remove all, and collection object C is given as argument. It returns true if all the elements in the collection C is removed from the specified location. Retain all. It returns true if the elements in the collection C is retained in the specified collection. Size. Now this size, it returns the number of elements in the collection. ToArray method, it returns the array containing all the elements in the collection. And ToArray argument is object array A. It returns array of object if the array contains all the elements in the specified collection. So these are in general all the methods that are available in the collection interface. Now we have already seen in the previous example, collection interface is extended by list, queue and set. So that means interfaces called as list, queue and set, they will also inherit all the methods of the collection, plus they will have their own methods for their specific usage. Okay, although we will not be able to use this method directly using the interface themselves, but then later on we'll see the developers have come up with the classes which implements this interface. Okay. Next is a set interface. Set interface extends collection interface. It's a sub interface of the main collection interface. Contains the methods that are inherited from collection interface. Plus, it also allows some special methods. For example, the set interface does not allow the use of duplicate elements in a collection. Hence, the add method returns false if we add the duplicate element to the collection. So this particular functionality okay, a fine tuning of the functionality of add method has been done in set interface. In the collection interface, add method used to only add elements whether they are duplicate or not. It was not a botheration. But since we know the set, what is set? Set basically contains the unique elements, and that's why the overriding has happened here. The method returns false, okay, if we add duplicate elements. So duplicate elements should not be allowed to be added in the set. List interface, again, list basically is what? It contains order sequence of elements available in collection. Now, list allows duplicate elements in the list. The list interface inherits the methods from the collection interface. In addition to these methods, it will have its own methods. So let's see quickly what are the methods of list interface. Add method, you can see this add method was also there for collection interface, but here it has made this add method specific according to the list interface. So add method here takes two arguments. One is the index position of and the object itself. So what it does is it adds the element O in the specified index position of the list at 0th index, first index, second, whatever you specified here. Add all, again you can specify index position, and the collection C, it adds all the elements of collection C in the specified index of the list. Get method, it returns the element available in the specified index of the list. Index of method, it takes object itself as argument. What index of does? It returns the index of object O in the list. If there are more than one occurrences of that particular object, then this method it returns index of the very first occurrence. So suppose there are 5 objects present, wherever it will give you index of the very first object. Now if the object O is not available, then this index of method should return -1. Similarly, there is also a method called as last index of, again it takes object O. So it returns the last index of object O in the list, and if the object O is not available in the list, then it will return -1. Then list iterator, we have just spoken about what is an iterator. So there is a method called as list iterator. It returns the list iterator of the elements. Then list iterator, its another syntax is, it takes index itself as an argument. It returns the list iterator of elements starting from the specified index of the list. Remove method, it removes the element specified at the particular index which is specified here. Now set method, it takes two arguments, that is index position and the object itself. It replaces the element in the specified index with a specified element. Then there is a method called as sublist. Okay, it takes starting index and ending index, and it returns the element available from the specified start index to the end index. It returns all those elements as a sublist. So these are all the methods of the list interface. Then we have sorted set interface, which is nothing but extension of the set interface itself. So the sorted set interface is used to sort the elements of the collection in ascending order. This is very important. It's not descending, but it is ascending order. The sorted set interface, as we know, it extends the set interface, which in turn extends the collection interface. So from collection interface you have set interface, and from set interface you have this particular sorted set interface. Now sorted set interface does not allow duplicate elements in the set. Let's see what are the methods of this sorted set. So it inherits all the methods from collection interface, from the set interface, plus it has its own methods. So these are its own methods. There is a method called as comparator. It returns the comparator object. If the element in the sorted set are in ascending order, then it returns none. First is a method that returns the first element in the sorted set. Head set object to element, it returns the number of elements less than that of the element specified using the 2-element object. The elements are returned from the sorted set. Last is a method which returns the last element of the sorted set. Then subset, which takes two arguments. One is object, that is from element, and object to element. It returns the elements between the range specified by the objects, from element and to element. Here the returned set includes from element and excludes the to element. And finally there is a tail set. It returns the element from the sorted set that are greater than or equal to the from element. Queue interface. Queue interface is another interface which extends this collection interface, and it declares the behavior of a queue, which is often first in first out. Now for those who are new to the data structure, okay, queue is basically a data structure wherein the element can be whichever element which is added first, it will be removed first. You can imagine queue as a pipe, water pipe, wherein the water enters through one end and exits through another end, right? Whichever object which goes first comes out first, whichever object that goes last, it can come out last. So that is a queue interface. I mean, that's a queue data structure. Now to represent this, they have come up with a queue interface which is first in, first out. Whichever goes first in, the same object comes first out. In queue, the elements can be removed from the head of the queue. Now queue has 2 pointers. You have something called as a head pointer or the front pointer, and there is another pointer called as the rear pointer. Elements are added from the rear side of the queue. Elements are removed from the front side of the queue. Okay, so in queue the elements can only be removed from the head of the queue or the front side of the queue. So queue interface, since it comes from collection, it will have all the methods of the collection inherited, plus these are its own methods. So there is a method called as element which returns the element at the head of the queue. Okay, that element is not removed, it is only returning that element. It tells you what is that element. Okay, at the head of the queue or at the front position of the queue. Offer object O, it attempts to add an element to the queue. Now whenever it tries to add element to the queue, it will not add from the head side, it will add it from the front side. Okay, it returns true if added, otherwise it returns false. Peek, it returns the element at the head of the queue, the element is not removed. Pull, it returns the element at the head of the queue after removing the element, and the remove method, it returns the element at the head of the queue after removing the element. Notice that element and peek, these methods are similar, but there is a small difference. If the queue is empty, then element method, it throws exception, and the exception name is no such element exception. While the peek method, it simply returns null, it does not throw any exception, it only returns null. So this is a difference between element and peek method. Similarly, poll and remove method, as you can see here, they are similar. Okay, but again here when the queue is empty, poll method it returns null, while the remove method it throws an exception, that is no such element exception. Right? So you need to remember these methods. Finally, we have map interface. The map interface maps unique key elements to their values. Now those of you who are new to data structures, we have a data structure called as hash table, which has key and value pair. For a particular key, you may have number of values associated. For example, if I say the key is India, then various states in India, all of them can be values for that particular key, and so on. So map is one such interface which represents something like hash table, key value pair, where mapping is possible, key to value mapping is possible. So the map interface, it maps unique key elements to their values. For example, in a mail server, each mail ID is mapped to a unique password. The map interface allows us to view elements of the collection as set of keys, collection of values, and the mapping of key value pairs. Now this map interface, okay, these are the dedicated methods of the map interface. Map interface is not, it does not extend from the collection, so it will have only these methods. Now first method here is a clear method, it removes all the mappings from a map. Contains key, and here you specify the object key. This returns true if the map if that particular map contains mapping for a specified key. Okay, the next method is contains value. It returns true if the specified value maps with one or more keys in the map interface. Then there is also a method that is called as contains value. It returns true if the specified value maps with one of the keys. There is a method called as entry set. It returns the key value pair contained in this map. Equals, it returns true if the specified object maps with an object of map interface. Get method, it returns the value which is mapped to a specified key. You specify key here, get will give you the value of that particular key. Is empty, it returns true if the map contains no key value mapping or the map is empty. Key set, it returns the keys in the map. So suppose there are 5 keys, it will return all the keys. If we remove a key from a map, the corresponding value will also be removed. Put. Now here, this is how you can add entries to the map. Okay, put, you put the key as well as its value. So it maps the specified key with the specified value. So put method, put all, okay, wherein it copied all the specified key value pairs from a specified map to the map with which we are currently working. So this basically copies all the key value pairs from a particular map, say M or T, and it copies that and it puts this into a map which we are currently working with. Remove method, again you specify whichever key it is, it will remove that particular key and value from the map. And size returns the number of key value mappings available in the map. One small suggestion to the students is that all these methods, you will not be implementing these methods in the program. Why? Because these are interfaces. The definition, the method definitions are not yet written. Who will write the definition? The classes which are going to implement these methods, we are going to those classes will write the definition of these methods. Okay, so once we reach the second section, that is the classes involved in collection, that time we'll be able to write programs. Right now you need to only remember what are the different interfaces, and then you need to also remember what are the different methods present in a particular interface and the description of that method. Sorted map interface, it extends the map interface. Sorted map interface contains elements in ascending order. That's very important, not descending order. In this, the sorting is based on the keys. Now the functionality of the sorted map is analogous to functionality of sorted set interface. This map interface is implemented in a tree map class. Okay, so later on we will be writing a class called as tree map class, and sorted map interface, its functionality you will see in this tree map class, and we are going to write program for this tree map class later on. Let's see quickly what are the methods of sorted map interface. You have comparator method, returns the comparator of the sorted map. It returns null if the sorted map uses natural ordering for their keys. First key returns the first key of the sorted map. Head map, it returns the key of the sorted map that are less than the specified end object. Last key returns the last key of the sorted map. Sub map, start comma end, returns the key of the sorted map that are greater than or equal to the specified start object and less than or equal to the specified end object. And tail map, it returns key of the sorted map that are greater than or equal to the start object. Iterator interface is the last interface, enables us to sequentially traverse and access the elements contained in the collection. The elements of the collection can be accessed using the methods defined within the iterator interface. Let's see the methods of iterator interface. It has only 3 methods. Heads next method returns true if the collection contains more than one element. Next method returns the next element of the collection. Remove method removes the current element from the collection. So we will have a quick overview of whichever classes which are there in this collection framework. So we have seen all the interfaces, and now these classes are going to implement the interfaces. These classes are at our disposal. Whenever we want to use collections in our programs, we will be using these classes, not the interfaces, right? The classes available in the collection framework implement the collection interfaces and the sub interfaces. These classes also implement the map and iterator interfaces. Okay, briefly we'll have an overview of all the different classes. We have a class called as abstract collection. Abstract collection class object, it represents the collection. Okay, so it also implements the collection interface. The list interface that we have seen, there is a class called as abstract list class which implements this list interface. Now queue is an interface, so there is a class called as abstract queue which implements this queue interface. Again, see, you will study abstract sequential list and linked list. These are the 2 very important classes which you can use in your programs. They also implement the list interface. Array list, okay, a very important class. This implements 3 interfaces. One is list interface, clonable interface, and serializable interface. Abstract set, it implements the set interface. Even enum set and hash set, they also implement the set interface. Priority queue, a special class that implements the queue interface. Tree set, okay, which represents a tree basically. It also implements the set interface. And then vector, stack, these are the two special classes that implement list, clonable and serializable interfaces. Whereas hash table, it implements the map interface, clonable and serializable interfaces. So we are going to see the most important and the most frequently used methods out of all this, classes out of all these classes. Let's start with the first class, that is abstract collection class. The abstract collection class, it implements collection interface as I had said. Therefore, it contains all the methods available in collection interface also. We use abstract collection class to implement a collection which cannot be modified. Example, a collection containing the months of a year, it cannot be modified. So if you want to represent in your program a list wherein there is a months of an year, and this list will never be modified, so you can use abstract collection class and you can create an object of that to store these months of the year. We can also implement collection using abstract collection class by overriding the add method and implementing the remove method. The constructor for this particular class, called as abstract collection constructor, is represented as protected abstract collection. Okay, similarly we have abstract list class. This abstract list class extends the abstract collection class and it implements the list interface. We use this class to access data randomly. For example, we can use the index values to access the elements of an array at random. So you can use abstract list for this. The constructor for this is represented as protected abstract list. And now we are going to see a program of this class. This is a very important and helpful class which is called as array list class. Remember, we said that arrays are static. Whenever we say C or C++, we always said that array is static. So whenever array is declared, the maximum size should be first only specified, and then later in your program, suppose you want more memory, then you cannot allocate on the fly new memory, right? Also, deletion of elements in the array, actually speaking, deletion does not occur, but we have a code that shows as if the values have been deleted. So array list is basically when we talk about dynamic array, the kind of array that we want. Okay, array list can be used to implement that kind of array. So now array list class extends abstract list class and it implements the interfaces such as clonable, serializable interface. Now using this array list class, we can create a dynamic array in Java applications. Dynamic array is an array in which the array size is not fixed in advance. So you can just declare an array, and while the program is getting executed, you feel that array requires more memory or more memory locations, you can just go on adding more elements. Therefore, we can change the size of an array at runtime using array list class. Every instance of the array list class is allowed to store a set of elements in the list. The capacity increases automatically as we add elements to the array list. The constructor of the array list, it takes three forms. One, without any argument, it creates an empty list. Second, array list collection C. What it does, it creates a list to which the elements of the specified collection are just added. And third way of creating constructor is you write the constructor and within that you need to specify the capacity. Okay, so it will create an empty list and the capacity of the list is initialized to the specified value. So if I say capacity is 10, okay, the capacity of the list will be initialized to 10. Now let's quickly see a program of the array list. Okay, now you can see here you create an object. Okay, as we know, all these collections are present in java.util, so you have to import that file. Here we have created an array list object. Now the original size of the array list, if you want to print, then there is a method called it size. You can just say object name, that is array list dot size. It will print or it will show you the size of the array list. Now there is a method called as add method. So you can use that add method to add objects to the array list, right? Then similarly, as you can see here, suppose you want to add an element to a particular index, you can use this add method only, but slightly modified. Here you specify the index position, okay, and second is the element that is to be inserted, so it will insert the element at the specified location. When you want to print the entire content of the array list, you can just give in println the array list object itself as input, and you will see the elements in the array being printed, okay. Then remove is a method that helps you to remove the element at a particular index that is specified. So remove 3 means element at index 3 will be removed, okay. You can either specify the element, the index position, or you can just specify which element you want to remove. Say Michelle I want to remove from this list, so it will remove. So this is just a simple program with different methods available in array list. So I will now show you, I will run the program and show you. So this is our array list, right? So first what we'll do is, here I'll just run the program. Okay, now just see, it will first print here the original size of the array list is size. Currently, initially there is no element in the array list, so that's why it prints here the original size of the array list is 0. Then array list's elements are added. So array list dot add Peter, John, George and Michelle. So after adding 4 elements, it prints the original size of the array list after adding the names is, you see, names are added and it prints original size of the array list after adding the names is 4. Why? Because we have added 4 names. Now if you want to print the content of the array list, then you can just give array list itself as argument. After doing that, you can see here the contents of the array list. These are the contents of the array list. So this is in brackets, what you have is the array list: Peter, John, George and Michelle. Then suppose I want to modify an element at a specified index. For example, at index position 2, I want to that element should be Tommy. So as you can see here, what is there in index position 2? So this is index position 1, okay, 0, 1, and this is 2, right? Index position 0, index position 1, index position 2. So at this index position 2, I want to insert Tommy. So then after doing this, you can see the contents of the array list after modification are, you can see Peter, John, and in between John and George, Tommy is being added, and so on. So that's the result of this operation here. Then the removing, suppose I want to remove the element at index 3. Now here the element at index 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3. So George I want to remove. So as you can see, after saying array list dot remove 3, okay, that means after removing George, what remains is Peter, John, Tommy and then Michelle. George is gone. Now you can, as I have said, you can also remove the element with the name. Say Michelle, wherever there is Michelle, object name called as Michelle, I want to remove it. So after implementing that, what happens is Michelle is removed and what you get is Peter, John, Tommy. So these are the different methods that you can use in array list, okay, to write your programs. After array list, the next class that we are going to see is a linked list class. The linked list class, it extends abstract sequential list class and it implements the list interface. As we know that each class will have different methods. So the linked list class, they have these methods. Add first. As I told you, the elements, see there are two ends. Whenever we talk about linked list, there are two ends. So add first method, it adds the specified element to the first position in the list. Okay. Add last method, it is used to add the element at the last position of the list. Okay. So suppose the list contains 0, 1, 2, 3 index values. So add first will be adding element to the 0th index, and add last method will be adding the element to the last index. Suppose 5 is the last index, then it will add elements to the 5 index. Every time the list will be grown. Similarly, get first method is used to get the element from the at first from the list, element present at the first or the first element of the list, and get last, it is used to get the element at last from the list. Similarly, remove first, it is used to remove the element at the first from the list. Remove last, it is used to remove the element at the last from the list. So remember students, you can consider list as an array which is ever growing and shrinking, first is a pointer that is pointing to the 0th index, and you can assume that last is a pointer that is pointing to the maximum index, that is say n, right? So you can add elements or you can remove elements from the first or from the last positions, right? These methods allow us to insert and remove elements in the list. Okay. We can use your list as a stack, queue, or even as a doubly linked list. The constructors of the linked list class are 1. Linked list, 2. Linked list collection C, wherein you can insert the entire collection. So as you can see here, I have written import java.util because all this is present in java.util package. Now here what I am doing is I am creating two objects. There is an object called as car, which represents some cars. For example, I have taken string variables car1, car2, car3, car4. So the constructor of the car class, okay, it assigns car1 to Honda, car2 as Suzuki, car3 as Kia, and car4 as Tata. So this is the car class. So whenever object of this car class will be created, 4 strings or 4 cars will be created, okay, Honda, Suzuki, Kia, and Tata. Similarly, I have a bird class here, as you can see. Here I have 3 strings called as bird1, bird2, bird3. The constructor of this particular bird class, what it does is assigns bird1 to peacock, bird2 to crane, and bird3 to sparrow. So whenever object of this class will be created, okay, 3 strings will be created, peacock, crane, and sparrow. Okay, now what we are trying to do is we will try to insert. So far we have seen in any data structure only heterogeneous elements can be added. So suppose you are adding integer values, then you can only add integer. You cannot add integer and float, or you cannot add string and integer together. But here I will show you how objects of 2 different classes can be added to the same linked list. Okay, now for that what I have done is my main class, okay, for this particular program, my main class is linked list demo. So first I have just created these 2 classes, car and bird are 2 classes. Now this is my main class, public class linked list. Now here what I am doing is I am creating a new linked list whose name is list. Now I have written 4 methods. Push1, basically what it does, it adds the given object to the first, okay, to the first pointer, okay, or in the front, and push2 method, it adds the given element to the end of the list, or to the last index of the list. So push1, push2 are 2 methods. Now bottom method it basically does what? It returns the element which is present at the end. So get last is a method that is being called, okay, in this. So what it does is whichever element which is present at the last, whichever element which is an object which is present at the bottom of the list or last, that will be returned. So that is bottom. Similarly, pop method, what it will do, whatever is the first element or the frontmost element, that will be removed. That's a pop method. Okay. Now in the main, I am creating object. Cars is an object that represents those cars. Birds is an object of bird class which represent those birds, peacock and all that. And I have created L1 object, okay, which is a linked list demo, the object of this particular class, right? Now L1.push1. So as you know, whenever the object of a class is created, its constructor will be called, right? Now here if you can see, in linked list demo I am first creating a list, correct? So then what I am doing is I am saying L1.push1 cars. So when I say push1, we are actually accessing this method push1, okay. So it is list dot add first 0. So to this list object we are adding at the front position or add first whichever element that is passed here. Now what is the element that I am passing? I am passing full object called as cars. So this cars object will have 4 strings, okay, string values. Which are the 4 string values? Honda, Suzuki, Kia, and Tata. So full car object is added. Okay, then L1.push2. So now again to that list I am again inserting element, but this time I am calling push2. What push2 does? Push2 adds the element at the end of the list. Push1 adds the element at the first of the list. Here at the last of the list. So which element I am adding? I am adding bird. Now you can notice car is a separate object of different class. Bird is an object of different class, but different class objects. So different data type objects can be added to the same list. Then I'm popping this element. Popping means removing, and whenever removal takes place, it will always remove the frontmost element. Okay, so car. Now since what I'll do is I'll pop the element. Now what pop will do? Pop will in turn call remove first. Remove first method will remove the element from the list. But if I want to just find out which is that element that I have removed, okay, then before removing the element, it has to be saved in some other object, and that's why I have created an object called as my car. Okay, now L1.pop will do what? It will just remove the first element from the list. Okay, now what is the data type of that element? The data type of that element is car. So here I am using typecasting because that element that I am removing, I am also storing in my car, so that I can print here that the first element in the list is my car. In the same way, I remove the element at the bottom, okay, or at the last of that particular list, which is nothing but a bird object. Okay, and then we say the last element in the list is that bird object. Again, typecasting is used here. So when I run this program, you can see that the first element in the list is linked list demo.car at the rate. So this is basically the object that we are talking about. So who was present at the first of the list or in the front of the list? The car object. And who was present at the end of the list? The bird object. So this is how I have shown you how different objects can be added to the same list, right? So this is how linked list class can be implemented. Next we have hash set class. The hash set class, it basically extends the abstract set class and it implements the set interface. The abstract set class itself extends the abstract collection class. The hash set class is used to create collection and store it in the hash table. Each collection refers to unique values called as hash code. The hash code is used as an index to associate with the objects which are stored in the hash table. This type of storing information in a hash table is called as hashing. So in general, what is hashing is, there is a function called as hash function. So this hash function is applied to a key. Okay. So suppose I want to insert a particular value, hash function is applied to the value, not to the key, to the value. So this will give you a numerical number which will represent a particular key. So then this value can be added to, can be inserted at that particular key location. What is hash set class? Hash set class basically creates a collection and it stores it into the hash table. I have already spoken about what is hash table, right? Constructors for hash set classes are hash set. What hash set does? It constructs an empty hash set. Second way is, you can pass the whole collection. So this initializes the hash set using the element C. And third, you can specify the hash set with respect to its capacity. Fourth, you can specify the hash set with respect to the capacity and fill ratio. Hash set does not guarantee the order of its items. The elements may be sorted in any order. This is simple example of how hash set can be used. So here again I am importing java.util. I have created an object HS of hash set class. Okay, add method is used to add these elements. So first hash set.add D, add A, add C, add B. So I have added elements in the hash set, and then the elements available in the hash set are when you can specify the object name itself, you will see the elements which are already entered in the hash set, right? Tree set class. Tree set class implements the set interface. The sorted elements are stored in a tree structure. This class allows us to access and retrieve the elements from the tree in a very less time. The constructor for the tree set class can take the following forms. Tree set. It builds an empty tree set. This empty constructor will sort the elements in ascending order. Second way of creating constructor is you can pass the collection object C. It builds a tree set which contains a collection of elements. And third way of writing the constructor is you can also specify the comparator object comp. So this builds a tree set based on specified comparator. And finally, you can also specify the sorted set as input. So this builds a tree set which contains element in a specified order. This is an example of tree set. You can see I am creating a class, I am creating an object TS of class tree set. Add method can be used to add the elements, and you can display this tree set directly by using object name. So these are the elements in the tree set. The vector class. Now this vector class is basically similar to array list class, except that the vector class is synchronizable. What it means is, as the vector class is synchronized, multiple threads, they cannot access the vector object simultaneously. Okay, there is a synchronization that happens here. So in array list, if there are multiple threads, all the threads or more than one threads can simultaneously access the content of the array list. So there could be an issue with the synchronization. Whereas vector class is already synchronized, that means you cannot have multiple threads that can access the vector simultaneously. That means only one thread can access the vector object at a specified time. The vector class, it implements basically a dynamic array. So if you see the functionality of vector class, it is almost same as array list. Only thing is that here there is synchronization. Array list, there is no synchronization. The constructors of vector class are: 1. Vector. It serves as a default constructor with an array size of 10. Second, wherein you can also specify the array size. And third, you can specify two things. One is the maximum size of the array, and second is the increment value. So this will build a vector of a given size, and the increment value is used to increase the size of the vector. If the increment value is not specified, then the size of the vector is doubled for each allocation. Fourth, you can pass the whole collection object. These are the various methods which you can use in vector class. Add element method, capacity, contains all. So we have already discussed vectors while we were in the first unit. While discussing string buffer, we have also seen vector class. So this is just a revision of that. Now this is an example of vector class. So I have created array called as I have created a vector called as fruits. I have created a vector the object called as fruits. Add method is used to add the elements in the array. Then how to access the contents of the vector? So I am using a iterator it. So I am saying iterator it equal to fruits.iterator. Okay. While it dot has next. We have already seen iterator class. So there has next is a function. What it does is, if there are more elements present, then has next will return true, otherwise false. So while it dot has next, that means while there are more elements present in the vector, it is going to print every element in the vector using next method. So this is how iterator can be used. Okay. So this will basically print all the elements in the vector. So the output of this is apple, oranges and grapes. This is how vector can be implemented. Stack class. Stack class, it extends the vector class. In addition to the inherited methods of the vector class, the stack class contains some more methods to perform operations such as push, pop, peek and search. Those who don't know data structures, for them stack is basically something like a container, a barrel, let's say, which is used to store your clothes. Now when you insert or when you store your clothes in that, you will put the first dress, then the second one on top of it, third on top of that and so on. Okay, so you have to insert elements only from one end. But now let's see how to remove elements. Suppose the bottommost dress is your favorite dress and that is what you want to remove. Okay, to remove the bottommost dress in that particular barrel or the container, you will have to first remove all the previous dresses out, and only then you will be able to access the bottommost. So this particular data structure is called as a stack data structure. Now inserting elements into the stack is called as push operation, right? Then the topmost element of the stack, the element that is present at the topmost end, which was actually the last element that was added to the stack, that is called as top element, right? Push is the operation that is performed to push the elements into the stack, and pop operation is used to remove the element from the stack. Now you cannot remove any element of the stack, only the topmost element you will have to remove, so that the next topmost element will be revealed, and so on, right? So that's a pop operation, and so on. The constructor of the stack class can be represented as stack. The above constructor is used to create an empty stack. The stack class uses the first in last out mechanism, and these are the methods that I was talking about. Empty method, it returns true if the stack is empty. Pick method, it returns the element at the top of the stack. Top is a pointer that always points to the last element that is inserted onto the stack. Now when the stack is empty, the top pointer is null. Okay, so pick basically returns the element which is present at the top of the stack. Pop method, it removes the element at the top of the stack and returns the element that is removed from the stack. Pick, it only returns the element, it does not remove it from the stack. Pop, it returns the element as well as it removes it from the stack. Push, it adds an element to the top of the stack. So whether you are pushing the element or whether you are popping the element out, the element should be always pushed or popped at the top location. That means top pointer. This is the example of the stack. So here I am creating an object st of stack. Push operation, it will push Java, latest and addition. These three strings will be pushed onto the stack. So after pushing these three strings, I am just printing the elements in the stack are object name st. So you will see the output here, Java, latest and addition. The stack shows that there are three elements which are present in the stack. Students, remember which was the first element that I had pushed? Java. Okay, so Java is the first element. On top of Java, the next element inserted was latest, and on top of latest, the next element added was addition. So if you ask me which is the topmost element, it is the addition element. Now if another element is to be added to the stack, okay, then this top pointer will be incremented by 1, and at that location the element will be inserted. Now while removing the elements, now see, this is the topmost element. So while removing or popping the elements out, always this element where the top pointer is currently pointing will be removed. So that top is decremented by 1, this will be the next topmost element. So this will be removed then top will be decremented by 1, so this will be the next element. Again, when the stack is empty, the top pointer, as I have told you, it will become null. So this is how, this is the elements. Then see the topmost element of the stack. Pick method is going to retrieve the topmost element of the stack. Now looking at this, addition is the topmost element, so that is getting retrieved. Then the element popped out of the stack. I told you pop is a method to pop the element out of the stack. Which element? The topmost element. So again see, the element popped out of the stack, that is addition object. Notice that pick, it returned the topmost element, but it did not remove the element from the stack. However, when you say pop returns the topmost element and also removes it from the stack. As a result, after removal, when you again try to print the elements of the stack, you will see that the addition, this third element is now absent. So which is the next topmost element? Latest is the next topmost element. So this is how stack works. Next we will see a very important class called as hash table class itself. So all this while I was talking about map, sorted map and so on. So these are actually implemented by a class called as hash table class. Okay, so this hash table class implement interfaces such as map, clonable and serializable. Hash table is used to store values in a form of a map, that is key and value pair. The key should implement the hash code and equals method to store and retrieve the values in the hash table. What this means is, okay, the key should implement the hash code and equal methods to store. So what happens is, suppose you want to insert an element onto the hash table, a value onto the hash table, there is something called as hash function that is applied to this particular value. So it will give you a particular key. So at that key index, you are going to insert that element. That's the meaning of it. The constructors of the hash table class are hash table. It creates an empty hash table with the default initial capacity is 11 and load factor is 0.75. Second way, hash table, specify the initial capacity. It creates hash table with the specified initial capacity and default load factor. Third is hash table with again two values. You specify initial capacity as well as the load factor. And fourth one is, it creates a new hash table with the specified map. Example of hash table. Here we create an object ht of hash table class. Put method is used to insert element. Now just see ht.put. I am trying to insert a key called as item and its corresponding value, that is apple. Key called as item 2, corresponding value is orange. So put method can be used to insert. Then now you need to you need to get the keys. So enumeration e equal to ht.keys. Now keys will give you the keys. Okay. Now I need to print the elements of the hash table. So while e dot has more elements, we know enumeration has a method called as has more elements, which returns true if there are more elements present. Okay. Now since we have created enumeration e which stores the keys, suppose there are 5 keys. Okay. So unless and until the value becomes 5 from 0, this method will always return true. So for the first iteration, since there are more elements present, it will come here. Okay. Then next element method is going to fetch the next element. Okay, enumeration, next element it will be fetching and will store in str, and then it will simply print ht.get str. So that's how it will print grapes, orange and apple. Finally, overview of algorithms in Java. Okay, now collections have 3 main important components. One is the interfaces, second is the classes, and third is the algorithms. So now we see the third part. Collection framework supports several algorithms that allows us to operate on collections. We can use these algorithms to sort, shuffle, manipulate and search a set of elements in a collection. Some of the algorithms available in collection framework are: one is sorting algorithm, shuffling algorithm, manipulating algorithm, searching algorithm. These algorithms are contained in collections class. Now different methods, for example binary search method, we have already seen what is a binary search in data structures. So this method, it basically searches the specified object in the specified list. It implements binary search mechanism. Copy method, list source and list destination, it copies the element from one list to another. Disjoint returns true if no common element present in specified collections. Frequency, it returns the number of elements that equal to the specified object in the specified collection. Index of sublist, where you specify source and destination, it returns the index of the first occurrence of the specified destination list in the specified source list, and it returns -1 if the source list does not contain the occurrence. Similarly, the last index of sublist, replace all, reverse basically it reverses the order of elements in the list. Swap, it interchanges the elements of the specified index of the list. So these are different methods which are available, algorithms. Sort algorithm. The sort algorithm enables us to arrange the elements of a list in a certain order. The ordering depends on the type of elements. If the list contains a set of string elements, the sorting is done alphabetically. And if the list contains a set of numeric elements, then the elements are arranged in ascending order. Shuffle algorithm. The shuffle algorithm shuffles the element of a list such that the current order of list is destroyed. This algorithm arranges the elements using all possible permutations. Example, we can use this algorithm to shuffle the objects in a memory game. Manipulating algorithms. Now the collection class provides algorithms to perform operations such as filling, reversing, copy, swap and add on list of elements on the collection. So this is basically called as manipulating algorithms. The reverse operation reverses the order of elements in the list. The fill operation replaces the element of the list with the specified elements. Copy operation, it copies the element of one list to another. Swap operation swaps the specified element in a list. And add all operation, it adds the specified elements to the list. Search algorithm. Search algorithm allows us to search an element in the collection. Here we use a binary search algorithm. To find an element from the list, we need to traverse the entire list. We can use binary search algorithm in the sorted list. The steps to find an element from a list using binary search algorithm. Given a list, we have to sort the elements in the collection. Second, we need to find the middle element of the collection. Okay, the median or middle element of the collection. Compare the specified element with the middle element of the collection. If the middle element is greater than the specified element, you traverse the first half of the list. Otherwise, you traverse the second half of the list. So this is how binary search algorithm is implemented. So basically in collections, whenever you are going to use these algorithms in your program, there is already a method called as binary search that you can directly use. You don't have to implement this binary search algorithm from scratch. So the binary search method of collection class implements this particular binary search algorithm. We need to pass the collection and the element to be searched from the specified collection as argument to the binary search, and this inbuilt binary search method will automatically do the work for you. If the element is not present in the available in the sorted order, then we need to pass the comparator as an additional argument to the binary search